Good evening. I'm Felix Lebesky. Tonight on SL Tonight, we're sitting down with one of the genuine pleasures of the 1920s. A film that's funny, sharp, glamorous, and available to anyone with an internet connection because it's fully in the public domain. It's called A Woman of the World. It was released December 28, 1925 by Paramount Pictures. It stars Pola Negri, one of the most fascinating women in early Hollywood, and it was directed by Malcolm St. Clair, who was 28 years old and already knew exactly what he was doing. Before we start the picture, let me tell you a few things about how this film came to exist, who made it, and why it still holds up 100 years later, because the story behind it is almost as interesting as the film itself. A Woman of the World is based on a novel called The Tattooed Countess, published in 1924 by Carl Van Vechten. Van Vechten was a New York critic, novelist, and photographer who moved in the most interesting circles of the 1920s. He was friends with Gertrude Stein, he championed the Harlem Renaissance, and he had a talent for writing sharp, witty portraits of American social life with just enough edge to make polite society uncomfortable. The Tattooed Countess is set in the 1890s in a fictional Midwestern town called Maple Valley, clearly modeled on Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The novel's Countess is in her 50s, and the relationship at the center is between her and a much younger man. It was, as one publisher put it, caustic but loving about a small-town Midwest life. Paramount acquired the rights and handed it to scenarist Pierre Collins and director Malcolm St. Clair, with one significant instruction: overhaul the source material, which they did. Pola Negri's Countess is considerably younger than her literary counterpart. The love story is completely restructured. The tone shifts from bittersweet novel to light, witty comedy. The intertitles, the text cards you see during the film, were written by Morris Reiskine, who would later co-write the Marx Brothers' A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races for MGM. So even the title cards in this film have pedigree. The cinematographer was Burt Glennon, who had a 40-year career in Hollywood. He later shot Stagecoach for John Ford in 1939. Every frame of this film is elegantly composed, which you'll see from the first shot. Produced by Adolph Zukor and Jesse L. Lasky, the two men who were Paramount in 1925, this was a prestige picture with a genuine star at its center. And that star deserves her own introduction. Who is Pola Negri? Barbara Apollina Chalapek was born in Lipno, Poland, around 1894. The exact date was a matter of some dispute, partly by her own design. She grew up in Warsaw in genuine poverty, trained at the Imperial Ballet, and switched to acting after illness ended her dancing career. By the time she was 17, she was a stage star in Warsaw. She went to Berlin in 1917 and fell into orbit around the director Ernst Lubitsch, who was then reinventing German cinema. Together they made 5 films, including Carmen in 1918 and Madame du Barry in 1919. Madame du Barry was such a sensation that it was exported to America and helped break the post-war boycott on German films in the United States. Jesse Lasky was at Paramount, saw it in Berlin in 1919, and immediately wanted both Lubitsch and Negri. In September 1922, Pola Negri arrived in New York, and she became the first European film star ever to be imported to Hollywood. She set the precedent for everyone who followed. Greta Garbo, Marlene Dietrich, Vilma Banky. Before Pola Negri, Hollywood stars came from America. After her, Hollywood understood that stardom was an international language. At Paramount, she was immediately cast as the exotic femme fatale, mysterious, dangerous, European. The studio even invented a rivalry between her and the other major female star, Gloria Swanson, which Charlie Chaplin later called a melange of cooked-up jealousies and quarrels. Studios were not subtle in 1922. Negri felt they were mishandling her image, and she was right. Her best American film was the one she personally arranged, Forbidden Paradise in 1924, directed by Lubitsch, the only film she made with him in Hollywood. Critics called it her finest American work. Paramount heard that and promptly did not give her another Lubitsch film. A Woman of the World, made the following year, was Paramount trying something different with it. Light comedy. A character who was still European and sophisticated, but warm rather than dangerous. Someone you'd root for rather than fear. It worked. It worked very well. One of the behind-the-scenes stories about this production is charming. Negri had a reputation for being difficult, late to set, demanding, exhausting. On A Woman of the World, she apparently decided to change her approach. She arrived early. She cracked jokes. She was easy on the crew. The director, Malcolm St. Clair, was so charmed that he drew a series of cartoons about her transformation, published in Photoplay magazine in April 1926, under the title The Transformation of Pola. She had decided to be delightful on this one, and you can feel it in the performance. the film's visual style. Malcolm St. Clair was born in Los Angeles in 1897, which made him practically a native of the film industry he'd grown up to work in. He started as a gag man and a director on short films, worked with Buster Keaton early in his career, and that Keaton influence stuck. His style is built around visual gags that connect to each other, humor that grows from the situation rather than from mugging at the camera, and a light touch that makes everything feel effortless, even when it's precisely constructed. By 1925, he was 28 and considered one of the sharper comedy directors at Paramount. A Woman of the World was an opportunity to put a genuine star into that sensibility, and it shows. The film moves quickly, the gags land cleanly, and when it needs to be romantic or tender, it earns that too. St. Clair was on to a long career in both silent and sound films. Later in life, he directed several Laurel and Hardy comedies. The visual intelligence you see here, the way the camera is placed, the way scenes are cut, is the DNA as someone who genuinely understood what silent comedy could do. The opening title card tells you everything you need to know about the setting. The Riviera, where one may start a love affair or end one, and surroundings beautiful enough for either occasion. We open on Countess Eleonora Natarini, Pola Negri, at the height of her continental glamour. Fur, orchids, diamonds, diamond earrings. A lover's family crest tattooed on her forearm, which was a real and fashionable practice in certain European social circles. The tattoo wasn't a shock in Europe. In Maple Valley, Indiana, it's going to be another story. The lover is unfaithful. She discovers it. And instead of tragedy, instead of the spiral of degradation that silent film audiences might have expected from this setup, she makes a decision. She's going to America to visit her distant cousin, Sam Poor, in a small Midwestern town. She delivers the line that defines her character. I'm a woman of the world, not the world's woman. That's the film in one sentence. She belongs to herself. She always has. That's what the Midwest is going to have to come to terms with. The moment the Countess steps off the train, the film becomes a comedy of manners, and the manners being examined are American ones. She lights a cigarette in public on a train platform. This was genuinely scandalous in 1925 small-town America. The Women's Christian Temperance Union had been campaigning against female smoking since the 1880s. Several cities had ordinances against it. A woman smoking in public in a Midwestern town in 1925 was not just impolite, it was a statement. It said, "I do not accept your rules about what I am allowed to do with my own body." The Countess doesn't make the statement dramatically. She's not trying to provoke anyone. She's simply being herself, which turns out to be the most provocative thing possible. Her cousin, Sam Poor, played by the veteran silent comedian Chester Conklin, who was one of Mack Sennett's original Keystone Cops and had been doing this since the 1950s, and his wife Lou are wonderfully played. They're not the villains. They're genuinely delighted to have her. They're just also genuinely overwhelmed. The comedy of their attempts to be good hosts while their entire social world quietly has a meltdown is one of the film's consistent pleasures. Enter Richard Granger, played by Holmes Herbert, a British-born actor who played authority figures so well he worked in Hollywood until 1956. Granger is the newly elected district attorney in Maple Valley, a self-appointed crusader for public morality, and a man who has very firm opinions about the role of women in well-ordered society. He sees the countess smoking. His face does a thing that Holmes Herbert was very good at, a kind of involuntary moral inventory where you can see the conviction on one side and the attraction on the other having a very uncomfortable conversation with each other. The tension of A Woman of the World is not, will the countess survive the town? She is clearly going to be fine. The tension is, will the district attorney survive the countess? Because he is clearly already in trouble. There is also a younger admirer, Willie, played by Charles Emmett Mack, a local boy who falls for the countess with the complete lack of strategy available to 22-year-olds throughout history. He's sweet and doomed, and the film is kind to him. The Tattoo and the Bizarre. The tattoo on the Countess's forearm becomes the town's obsession. This is Van Veck's original detail. In the 1924 novel, it's the defining mark of who she is and where she's been. In the film, it functions as a symbol of everything the town can't categorize. Not criminal, not immoral exactly, it's just foreign. Incomprehensible. Proof that she has lived a life they can't imagine. The bizarre sequence is one of the film's comic highlights. Townspeople treat her as an attraction. Talk to a real countess, 25 cents, which she endures with a kind of magnificent patience before the indignity of being asked to display the tattoo breaks. There's a sharper social observation here than the comedy lets on. The countess is being exoticized. She's being turned into a curiosity. The very townspeople who are scandalized by her behavior don't have any trouble profiting from her novel. That's a pointed thing to put in a 1925 comedy, and the film is smart enough to let it land without underlining. Now, we need to talk about the horsewhipping scene, because it is one of the most memorable things in 1920s silent comedy, and the IMDb reviewers have been writing, "Goodness me, I've never seen anything like it," about it for decades, and they're correct. The district attorney, whose attraction to the countess has curdled into a very specific kind of moral panic, publicly confronts her. He has decided, with the confidence of a man who has never been wrong about anything and is about to be, that she's a dangerous influence on the town and must go. The countess picks up her horsewhip. She uses it publicly, right there in front of everyone. The district attorney, crusader for public morality, newly elected representative of small-town American virtue, gets horsewhipped by a European countess in front of his constituents. And this is where the film does something the novel didn't quite manage. It makes the scene funny and righteous and strangely romantic all at once. Because the whipping isn't violence exactly, it's correction. She's adjusting his attitude, and she is doing it with magnificent conviction. And Holmes Herbert's performance in that moment, complete shattering of his self-righteousness, is genuinely wonderful acting. The audience in 1925 apparently found this extremely satisfying. A lot. Modern audiences find it extremely satisfying. Some things are universal. I thought it just looked like he got dog shit on his face, and really he wasn't quite wrong, but I digress. Horsewhipping strangely becomes the turning point. Something about being publicly corrected in the most dramatic way possible finally breaks through Richard Granger's rigid sense of propriety. He sees her not just as a scandalous outsider, but as a real person with her own standards and her own pride. He's been fighting his attraction to her since the moment he saw her smoking on the train platform. She's been dealing with a town that wants her to shrink herself to fit their rules. In the end, neither one fully wins. They meet somewhere in the middle. He loosens up. She finds someone who can appreciate her as she is. The film doesn't pretend this is a perfect solution to cultural differences. It just says these two very different people found something worth keeping. The final sequence is earned, not forced. These two very different worlds, European sophistication and Midwestern conviction, find a way to coexist, at least long enough for a honeymoon. The last scene, they're headed off together, and Richard Granger, the man who was shocked by a cigarette on a train platform, offers her one. That's the joke, and it lands perfect. A Woman of the World is, 100 years later, still a very entertaining look at what happens when a free-spirited person drops into a place with very firm ideas about how everyone should behave. It doesn't solve the tension between personal freedom and community standards. It just shows two strong personalities finding a way to make it work, at least for them. Pola Negri brings real star power and charm to the role. Malcolm St. Clair directs with a light, confident touch. The supporting cast, especially Chester Conklin and Holmes Herbert, gave her exactly the right people to play against. The film is fully in the public domain. You can watch the original restored print free right now in an archive, and my narrated version will be available on YouTube when I'm done here, and it will be available without my narration on the SL Tonight website, www.sltonight.com. This has been Felix Lebesky. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments what other silent film or pre-code picture you'd like us to explore next. There's a whole century of cinema out there waiting to be rediscovered. This has been Felix Lebesky again for SL Tonight. Stay curious, stay weird, and never be afraid to be exactly who you are. Good night.